LCS means everything to me. I'm very motivated to get back in LCS.
I feel ready for Copenhagen Wolves.
I'm mentally prepared. I think my team is mentally prepared. I think we're going to take it.
You're fighting for a chance to do what you love for a living.
Yeah, I'm really motivated. It's all I've been working for. It's my dream.
Playing LCS was the best part of my esports career.
The best league in Europe where you can be, and that's obviously where I want to be.
Being in the LCS would mean a lot to me. I've already tried to qualify twice, but this time, third time's a charm.
Battle Atlantic, it's all about bragging rights.
Like, we didn't fly overseas just to be like, just to lose.
We're actually here to win something, we're just not here to troll around. I'm a little bit nervous, since I've been here before.
We're gonna qualify for sure. Last season, it was the first season of LCS. Of course, I want to do it again.
Promo relegation for most of these teams is the most important tournament they've ever been a part of.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2014 European LCS Spring Promotion Tournament, live from our brand new studio in Cologne, Germany. I'm Eve supporter alongside Trevor Quickshot Henry and Rivington Bisland III. And gentlemen, it's great to be back together again and kicking off this fantastic weekend of League of Legends.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be back on air. And, you know, it's been 2 months since Worlds. It doesn't feel like 2 months. It feels so much longer. And you have to give props once again to SK Telecom T1 for picking up that phenomenal victory and just sweeping aside everybody at the tournament.
You know, I gotta say, and I think I speak for everyone here when I say we've had enough of the off-season. It's time to get the 2014 season started.
Well, I've got good news for you, Riv, because you don't have to wait any longer, because the 2014 season officially starts today with the Spring Promotion Tournament. Now, for more on the teams and the tournament, let's send it over to D-Man and Jack at the desk.
Thank you very much, Shocks. I am Lee D-Man Smith, and alongside me once again is Joshua Jack Leesman. It is great to be back, that is for sure. And of course, the teams that will be taking part in this weekend's tournaments will not only be fighting for a pro contract and a chance to compete in the LCS, but they'll be taking an important step towards every team's ultimate goal, and that is, of course, competing in the 2014 World Championships that this year will be in Korea. So, while that seems like a lofty goal, and it's not that far-fetched though, because both the Lemon Dogs and Cloud9 went from the Challenger team to World Championship participants in just one split.
Yeah, and we've known the 3 former LCS teams that will be in this tournament since Gamescom. It was actually just a week ago that the 3 Challenger teams were finally decided, and the Copenhagen Wolves dominated the Challenger round robin. They went 5-0, and they earned the first Challenger berth in this weekend's tournament. Super Hot Crew was the second team to qualify, and KMT took out TCM Gaming in the final game there, and they were the 3rd Challenger participant.
So once those teams were all locked in, of course, Ninjas in Pajamas, they got to choose who the first person would be out of those 3 challengers. And of course, no surprise, really. They went with KMT, the last team to qualify.
Yeah, and after that, it was the 7th place SK Gaming's choice. And they decided they wanted to play the Super Hot Crew, which meant Meet Your Makers, who finished last place in the LCS and then didn't get to pick their opponent, they kind of got stuck with the red-hot Copenhagen Wolves that nobody wants to face.
Yeah, the Copenhagen Wolves certainly are looking strong, and of course that means coming up today, in just a couple of minutes, ladies and gentlemen, we will have that matchup between Meet Your Makers and the Copenhagen Wolves. They'll be facing off in a best-of-5 series for a shot in 2014 Spring Split.
And then on Saturday, it will be SK Gaming versus the Super Hot Crew, and the European Spring Promotion Tournament will wrap up on Sunday with Ninjas in Pajamas battling KMT for that last LCS berth.
And the winners of the weekend promotion tournament won't have to wait very long to get their first taste of LCS action, because we are happy to announce that the 2014 LCS Spring Split will be kicking off with a Super Week starting on Tuesday, January the 14th at 7 p.m. Central European Time right here in this studio, and that's going to be 10 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah, and then after 3 days of the European LCS, the 2014 North American LCS will start up with its own Super Week on Friday, January the 17th. That'll start at noon Pacific, which is 9 p.m. Central European Time.
And of course, the other big announcement about this year's LCS schedule is that the European LCS will now be playing our regular season matches on Thursday and Friday nights. And of course, that means that North America, they will be playing on Saturday and Sunday, live from Los Angeles.
And for more information on the 2014 LCS Spring Split, just head over to lolesports.com.
Then when you're done, check out all the LCS info. Make sure to vote on which of the 3 teams you think will be winning their way into the LCS during this weekend's Spring Split Promotion Tournament.
Yep, just click on schedule near the top of the page and give a thumbs up to the teams you believe will be playing in this studio as part of the European LCS.
Then,
that's up.
Again, open another browser. Get it straight in there. Or just use another browser tab. That's what most people do these days. And head over to Twitter and let us know, which team do you most want to see earn a spot in the European LCS and why?
Yeah, tweet us at LOL Esports and be sure to use the hashtag LCS because we'll be reading our favorite answers later in the show. And one of them could be yours, but you have to use the hashtag LCS. Some people forget that.
And it's only our favorites. If they suck, we're not going to read them. That's for sure. Now, of course, another piece of exciting news for you guys. This weekend, we'll not only be bringing you the promotion tournament, you all know it. We'll also be broadcasting the debut of the Battle of the Atlantic.
The top 5 North American and European LCS teams will go head-to-head for bragging rights, essentially. I mean, at least until the next All-Star game.
We will see about that. Of course, the first ever Battle of the Atlantic kicks off on Saturday at 6 p.m. Central European time with the LCS Summer Split's 4th place squads in both, obviously, North America and Europe facing off against each other. That is Alliance, formerly known as Evil Geniuses. They're going to be playing their first match against Skara and Team Dignitas. Then, Sunday, that's when TSM strike. We will see, of course. They were the 2nd place teams. And, well, the new mid laner, Bjergsen, will be joining them. And they're going to be taking on a very new look, Lemon Dogs.
And then the Battle of the Atlantic will continue the next week during the North American Spring Promotion Tournament with Counterlogic Gaming taking on Team Alternate. Then after that, the team that was formerly known as Vulcan is now XDG Gaming. They're going to battle the Red Hot Gambit Gaming. And then the final game of the Battle of the Atlantic, of course, is the rematch of the World Championship quarterfinal with Peke and Fnatic taking on Meteos and Cloud9.
Yeah, some great games coming up. And, of course, while Fnatic blew away Cloud9 during the Worlds, a lot of time has passed since then. What kind of effects is the new patch going to have on the game?
Yeah, I mean, considering the amount of change to the game that happened in this patch, we haven't seen too many huge ripples in the competitive scene yet because it does seem like we're still playing the same game. But the main things that I'm going to be watching for is the strength of the jungle in the mid and later parts of the game. Because early on, all the extra wards and the fact that you can't do the quick level 3 gank like you used to be, it's different power progression for those junglers. And also, the biggest thing, I think, is the team's abilities to close out games if they only have a small advantage. Because at least in the 2 promotion tournaments in North America and in Europe, there were a lot more back-and-forth games than we're used to seeing. And I want to see if that trend continues here.
Lots of changes and plenty of time to see if they're going to settle in, of course. Now, though, let's send it over to Quickshot, who's standing by with a couple of pros to get their take on how the teams have been preparing for this weekend's new patch.
Thank you very much, T-Man. And to talk about the changes to League and how it's actually affected their respective teams, we are joined by Team Solo Mode's Special and, of course, Team Alternates Aranea. Welcome to Europe, guys.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's start this one off. 3.14. I really want to know how each of your specific teams has actually adapted to, the patch adapted to the game. Let's start with Special. How has TSM approached 3.14?
Well, with 3.14, we had a pretty big, we had a new roster. We had Bjergsen coming over, taking over Reginald's role, and we lost our shot caller, and we had to adjust to a new patch. It was really difficult. We actually were not doing well in scrims for the first part, but after playing a lot of solo queue and just figuring out the patch, and then playing a lot of scrims as a team, we've really meshed together, and we're really liking 3.14.
What about yourself, an alternate?
Well, after Gamescom, we had like holidays for like 2 months, something like that. So I was like studying, and we were like focusing on other stuff, like real life. And after that, I felt so bad playing League of Legends again. I feel like I had to play so much solo queue to be again on the shape to the LCS and stuff. And after that, we are like pretty good right now. We do another change as well. We changed for Lord, for Kerp on mid lane, and now Kevin, SK Gaming, is playing for us in top lane, and it's working really good.
So you mentioned, learning the patch, adapting to the patch. What's more important for TSM? Theory crafting, away from the game, looking at the numbers, solo queue or scrims? I mean, how do you actually break it down? How do you analyze and adapt?
I think theory crafting is important, but the most important thing is putting it into practice. I think solo queue is the biggest thing. We played more than probably like 60 or 70% solo queue, and we adjust a new patch. We see 9 other players playing on this new patch too, and they're also good at the game. And that's the quickest way for us to learn. And then after that, we apply that in scrims.
Is it the same in EU?
No, I mean, for us, it's like, it's so different for us. It's like, if we want to try something, we don't even try in solo queue. We just play in Scrim. Like, we try to play against really good teams. We try to play, like, new champions or new strategies, like going different lanes and stuff, but only in scrims. Like, for us, solo queue doesn't mean anything.
Okay, so let me extrapolate on this a bit. Why is it that it's more for scrims for alternate? Is it because solo queue and scrims are so different? Or, you know, what's the reasoning behind that?
I don't know. We just feel like in a scrim, you don't have the communication with the other guys, so it's not team play at all. And the difference between a team play of a scrim and the team play you have on solo queue is so huge that you cannot really like say, hey, in solo queue this work out, let's play it in a scrim and it won't work out. It doesn't feel like this. It's like you have to play it in a scrim. If it works on scrim, then we'll play on LCS.
Yeah, I can understand that. Especially from your point of view, there was a lot of changes to the support role, maybe more so to support role than any other lane. But we haven't seen a drastic shift in gameplay style. We're seeing now Annies and Karmas, but there were always fringe picks. Is there going to be more drastic changes? Are we still sticking to the norm? Why hasn't it been as explosive as a lot of people were sort of predicting going into 3.14?
Right now, with Annie, Thresh, and Terra kind of being the three strongest supports, it's kind of just crowding out all the other supports. And once those champions do get slight nerfs, slight tweaks, we're going to see a lot more of the different picks. It's just right now, too many, like those three champions are just so much better than the other ones that it's just completely shutting down any new supports.
Very quickly, do you think we would see like Morgana supports, LeBlanc supports? Do you think this is a possibility in the coming months?
I think that's definitely the goal with Riot and definitely the goal of the players. I mean, they want to run these new supports, but they need to be able to run it without having the other three top supports just beating them
Crushing.
up. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And what about the jungle role, Arnia? As the final question now, talk to me 3.14, that with there's new items, new goal generating items. How has it affected your gameplay and are there any changes?
Well, I think the biggest change on jungle is probably the warding stuff. Like right now, everyone has a trinket, everyone has a warding lane, so it's really hard to gank a lane. You have to be like pretty sure that they don't have a ward, that is not warded, and you can take a good path to gank and make a successful gank. If your gank is not successful, you're gonna be behind. The enemy jungler is gonna keep jungling and he will be a level than you, and that makes him to be like doing drakes or doing more plays than you. That's really hard. And also like the invisible thingy of Evelyn is also a big change. I think right now there is no oracles, only pingwars, and they are visible. So Evelyn and the invisible champion are really strong in this metagame.
Riot, please make RNA's ganks a little more powerful, is the story here. Guys, we do have to take a very quick break, and we have to let all of that knowledge soak in. But when we return, it is time for the first match of the 2014 Spring Promotion Tournament. Meet your makers versus the Copenhagen Wolves. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back from Cologne, Germany.
welcome back to the LCS studios in wintry Cologne, Germany. And whilst it's cold outside of these cozy confines, the action is about to heat up in here. It is time for our first best-of-5 series in the 2014 Spring Promotion Tournament between the LCS Summer Split's Meet Your Makers and the challengers, the Copenhagen Wolves. And of course, for the members of Meet Your Makers, they're looking to recapture some of that magic that had them sitting at second place after the first week of the 2013 Spring Split.
Yeah, let's not forget, MYM went 4-1 during week 1 of that LCS Summer Split, but only won 4 games for the rest of the season, and then they finished in 8th place. And no roster changes have happened even after the bad Summer Split, despite their struggles continuing, actually. The EUS Challenger Series, they played in 4 of those. There are this weekly tournament they happen. They've actually lost in the first round of that 3 times. So MYM is not really walking into this looking all that strong.
And of course, today's competition only gets more difficult as they now face the most dominant team in the European Challenger Series, the Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, Copenhagen Wolves went 5-0 in that group stage round robin. And they'd also been dominating the Challenger Series before that tournament. And months back at Gamescom when they were winning, people were saying, oh, it's because of Shook, their jungler, and Reckless, their AD carry. When they lose those guys, what's going to happen? Well, they lost them, and they didn't miss a beat. Amazing picked up the jungler role. Forgiven is playing AD carry, and they look just as good as ever, if not better right now.
If not better. They've looked fantastic throughout the play-ins, that's for sure. And of course, while Meet Your Makers, they will be meeting their match. The last time they played the Copenhagen Wolves, they believe that their LCS experience will be the edge they need to win back their place in the LCS.
I know that Copenhagen is a really strong team, but still they are amateurs. So I think that LCS experience will give us an advantage.
We've met Meet Your Makers twice before and 2-0'd them, so we're very confident going into this tournament.
Even though we lost to Copenhagen Wolves, we know those players for very, very long time, so we kind of think like they are a pretty good team, best amateur team right now. But still they're overhyped a bit.
No, I don't think we're overhyped. I really think Meet Your Makers shouldn't be scared. I mean, if you look at our record right now, we're looking strong.
I'm mentally prepared. I think my team is mentally prepared. We've been practicing a lot for at least like the last 4 to 5 weeks, especially before I am Cologne. And I think we're going to take it.
Some big words from Meet Your Makers there, saying the Copenhagen Wolves are overhyped.
I mean, the Copenhagen Wolves are definitely coming into this with a lot of hype behind them and a lot of arrogance too, but that's because they've been winning so much. Think about it. They've actually beaten MYM a couple of times. They've played on this actual stage before at Gamescom when they were playing in the tournament there, so they don't seem to be fazed by this pressure right now.
Well, let's check out those starting lineups. On the blue side, it is going to be Meet Your Makers. The top laner is Kubon in the jungle, the captain, and Makata. Charu in the mid lane. Could he be using the teleport again? Who knows? Makler is the AD carry, and Libic the support.
Yeah, of course, and starting in the red corner is that red-hot Copenhagen Wolves team. We have the top lane, Young Buck, 3rd time trying to qualify for the LCS here. Amazing. The jungler, Cowtard in mid lane, Forgiven on AD carry, and of course, Unlimited on support.
So, what are we expecting? This is the first game in Europe on the LCS, on the 3.14 patch, effectively. This is the official start. What do we think we're going to see in this?
Well, the nice thing is we had that entire group stage, which was played on the same patch. So, at least for Copenhagen Wolves, maybe that's another edge for them because they have experienced this. They know the support items that they've been starting with. Honestly, going back and trying to kind of track through the champion lineage of what these guys are playing isn't super useful right now coming into these champ selects because there's kind of those, I mean, Xpecial mentioned 3 big supports in that previous thing. Annie, Thresh, and Tarek are super strong right now as far as support roles, but the AD carries are kind of the same way here. I'm expecting a lot of Lucian, a lot of Sivir, and then the 3rd one would probably be Jinx, but aside from those things, it's like, I hope they've been practicing those champions right now because that's what everyone is playing on this patch right now.
And while we go into picks and bans, we should mention Rengar is banned from the tournament. Rengar is banned from the tournament. There's an issue they've found with that one, so that will be resolved. But also that means, obviously, that's a ban taken away that would have been used.
It very well could have been. It just, Rengar was picking up a lot of popularity.
It was either picked or banned. It was pretty much 100% so far in OGN.
Well, Young Buck, that kind of dips into his champion pool. And look at the bans already.
Well,
we can see Renekton. Obviously, that's a classic Young Buck ban. Back into Season 2, that was his champion before Renekton was a big thing. But then you see the Olaf and Shyvana bans. Even though those could have doubled his jungle bans, that's going to dip into Young Buck's champion pool a little bit harder.
So we'll see how it works out. Remember, of course, their support's a big part in this. Annie has got through the picks and bans phase. Could well be the first pick, but Lucian has also got through, as has Siva. So Siva could be picked up by Copenhagen Wolves here.
This is a definite possibility, but I don't know if they need to burn that pick right now. There's a lot on the board for Copenhagen Wolves, and they basically get to pick whatever poison they want. They don't need to lock in anything too early. I think if they pick the jungle Elise right here for Amazing, it's something he's incredibly popular on, or proficient with, and since the powerful AD carry was already picked by MYM, they wanted to pick a support first on Copenhagen Wolves, which is what they've done with Annie.
And that's an interesting one, because I'm not sure Libic has transferred to Annie yet. Remember, he used to be the Zyra player. Sharu, though, not messing around here. He's locking in Zig straight away, and now we're going to see Mundo potentially in that jungle.
Yeah, I actually think that that's going to be a top lane Mundo.
Yeah, we've seen that.
The real popular thing that people have been doing is the 30 defense in the Masteries. With the 2014 season, you get a little bit more health regen in those defensive masteries, and that's why everyone just kind of exploded with the Mundo play. And that could absolutely work for MYM here, since here's the big question with them, actually. Is Sharu going to bring Ignite on Ziggs because he is such an overpowering laner, or is he going to take the teleport so he can get the roaming that MYM is used to?
But the thing with Ziggs, I suppose, is with the Super Mega Bomb, you don't really need to roam so much because it's got such a long range. You can just walk a little bit up that river and boom, you're going to hit that target. So it's a potential champion that has been very strong, but look at the picks coming straight in. Kha'Zix and Caitlyn.
So the Caitlyn is the most surprising pick to me right here. This is very much almost a old practice champion for Forgiven on AD carry. He was actually at one time the #1 ranked player on the EU West ladder as an AD carry. He's not. These guys
Wakey, Mekla. Yeah. It is 9 p.m., I might add, in Europe. It's not early for these guys. Maybe it is, who knows?
Yeah, but anyway, that Caitlyn pick, I would have expected a Sivir, but they definitely want the long-range tower sieging at this point from Caitlyn, and maybe they think they have a little bit better poke to allow what I think Kautar is going to do with that assassination on Kha'Zix.
How did Evelyn get through this far?
Because all they did is ban top laners. Like, for the most part, there's so much that they left up on the board.
Wow.
And yeah, they definitely thought that Elise was going to be a more powerful early jungler than the Evelyn. And honestly, if Amazing can accurately predict where Eve will gank, he can shut Eve down. Because Evelyn's early dueling power is stronger than Eve's. But you have to know. You just have to guess it. There's not really mechanisms in the game right now that will tell you where Eve goes early.
And no surprise, we're going to see another tanky top laner from Youngbuck. This time it looks like Nasus will get selected for that top, who actually has kind of risen to popularity once again since the remake.
Yeah, absolutely. Nasus...
Well, not so much the remake, it's the re-graphic.
I mean, he got a...
Everyone's like, oh, he looks good again, let's play him.
Yeah, I think that was definitely part of it, but a bigger part of it is kind of the same reason Mundo is seeing the increased popularity. Early laners that are a little bit weak, with the added health regen, can get to that power point in the game. And Youngbuck, I feel like that's going to be a pretty heavy farm lane when he goes up against Mundo, if they don't do any lane swaps here.
So let's look at the teams then. What are we seeing? Because I'm seeing quite a lot of damage from both teams, but definitely going to be spiking in different areas of the game.
The biggest thing I see right now is actually lineups that are fairly fresh for the 2014 season for these teams. Because if you look at MYM's roster right now, you would maybe see a Jungle Eve and a support Thresh. Everything else is new for them. So they are definitely switching up a little bit. From a damage perspective, they have a substantial amount of AoE damage. I just wonder for them if they can escape... well, not if they can escape. They have a very strong laning phase. If they can transition that well into teamfights. Because Copenhagen Wolves, with almost, I want to say their individual play right now and how well they've been dominating laning phase in their other matches, if MYM doesn't have a large lead out of the laning phase, I think they're going to fall down.
Well, they have no out-and-out stuns. That's the main thing I see from Meet Your Makers. They have a lot of slows in there, but there's no out-and-out full-on crowd control. Nothing's going to lock you up, whereas Elise's Cocoon, you can make a pick. Kha'Zix jumping in there.
Exactly.
You're not going to stop them.
And without any sufficient lockdown, if Kha'Zix does start jumping around, there's no stopping it.
Absolutely. So we are about to get into the game, and while these teams do load onto the Rift, let's take a look at who you guys at home think is going to win their way into the LCS. According to lolesports.com, 63% of you have voted for the Copenhagen Wolves, And I think they will earn themselves a spot in the LCS. And seems to be a crowd favorite here as well. And remember, of course, our coverage of the Spring Promotion Tournament continues on Saturday with the Battle of the Atlantic as Alliance, formerly known as Evil Geniuses, will be taking on Dignitas, followed by SK Gaming versus the Super Hot Crew. They are games you will not want to miss.
Yeah, and it's actually crazy to think about this game, how even though MYM has been in the LCS and played big games, and Copenhagen Wolves is looking so strong coming in here, and they went 5-0 in the group stage, none of that will matter if these teams don't win 3 out of the next 5 games. Because they don't do that, they're not in the LCS this split.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Game 1 is underway. Meet Your Makers as the blue team and Copenhagen Wolves as the red team. What will we see from level 1 from these teams? We've seen a couple of invades over the past. I've been watching a lot of OGN, and honestly, teams have been playing it very cautiously as we approach the 2014 season.
There's definitely a renewed sense of caution here in the early game. There's the occasional fight, but if you're up against a support Annie who has charged the W stun, so pretty much, aside from Alistair, the only champion that can give you an AoE stun at level 1, you don't want to mess with that early on in the game. So MYM, as you can see, is setting up a fairly defensive wall and thinking about looking at the blue buff later, but this would be, even though he's not going to run into anything right now, Makate's thinking about a very dangerous thing at the moment.
Well, that's it, though. With the Evelyn, they could stealth their way in there and take a quick peek, but with the wards obviously available, this is the 2014. Everybody has a ward, apart from Amazing, who can scout out those wards. And this is something, actually, we're thinking that it's going to be a big play. And talking to the players, it seems like it will. Trinkets can get swapped out for free if you haven't invested in them.
I'm expecting to see a lot of trinket swapping in this match, mainly because you can see one red sweeper trinket on Amazing early on. He's going to try and take out a ward early on if he's expecting it to be in a gank path. But once supports get their Sightstone, they'll replace it with a sweeper trinket so they can both ward and remove wards.
So it looks like Copenhagen Wolves are going to be moving in towards the blue. We can see Meteor Makers in the blue. The Young Bucks going to try and interrupt this one. Needs to be careful he doesn't get hooked in there. Oh, Kubon waiting on the wings there, trying to get the steal. Not going to happen. It was a little bit too late for that one. And it means, of course, both teams will be trading the blue buff.
Mundo didn't even get the little one. That's like the saddest Dr. Mundo I've seen. But really, I actually think that was a very smart read by Makate on Evelyn, recognizing that Copenhagen Wolves had a stronger level 1 engagement. He knew that MYM was going to be invading him, and he just immediately went for that blue buff. So even though I called it a dangerous play, it was a very smart read, and he got the blue buff out of it. Otherwise, he would have been pushed off of it.
So currently, we're seeing relatively standard starts, but I want to draw your attention to Young Bucks. Starting off, he's gone Crystalline Flask at the top there on the NASA. Well, obviously Mundo, well, gone with the Dawn and Shield. Pretty standard of him.
Yeah, the Crystalline Flask, at least from both of their early laners, means they just want to sustain a little bit through this lane. Nasus with the Crystalline Flask is nothing out of the extreme ordinary. He would more want the Dorn Shield if he knew he was going to be up against Lucian, because it would have reduced the auto attack damage, but for now, he's just going to be using it for as much regen as possible, and he's going to need to be at full health if Makate gets him that 3-man gank.
Yeah, and Kubon using the teleport already there, went back to get himself a potion, so that teleport will be down for the next couple of moments. We are seeing Amazing taking a peek down this bottom here, but look at this, Evelyn's already in. The Tribur's going to come around, find each other. They've both got the double buffs on, and it's Amazing they want to go for, but unfortunately they're going to back away. Libic, though, manages to land the hook, get us on towards Amazing. Amazing taking low, he's got nowhere to drop, he's going to come straight back down, flashes away. Is it going to be first blood? Yes, it will. It's Libic that gets the double buff.
That is a huge start for MYM. The fact that they're able to now have 2 double buffs on their team, and they shut down Amazing's early at least. That was kind of the counter gank he wanted to pull off, but he just got caught out of position by that Thresh Hook, maybe more.
The Thresh Hook once again and putting the death sentence down on towards Youngbuck. They're going to try and trade him, but Youngbuck gets a kill on Makata, but it will be another kill for Meet Your Makers. It's now 2-1.
And it got double buffs in that bottom lane now because it transferred back and forth from Youngbuck. That's not the worst thing that could have happened to Youngbuck, but it definitely wasn't good, and MYM could not be happier about that bottom lane beginning.
And now, of course, with Amazing getting caught out in that bottom, it means there is no trade in this top lane. Kubon just desperately trying to hold it on. I'm not too sure he's going to hold this tower much longer, though, because look how much damage they've already put on it. Meanwhile, in the middle, we see Kha'Zix jumping in on towards Charu. The early lane should be where he can get the damage down. That will be enough. The Ignite will take down Charu. That is going to be countered with a kill in mid.
The very last tick of Ignite, Ziggs took Kha'Zix with him when he tried to jump away with that Ziggs E, and it was not a good thing. That was really just Coutard making up for the slight mishap that happened in the bottom lane for Copenhagen Wolves, and they're right back in this game. If they take this turret right now, since there was no turret damage done on the other side while MYM was diving, Copenhagen Wolves would already be in the lead.
Well, we see that Makata was coming around to try and help, but I don't think they need to go for this one. I don't think they should be either, because there's a lot of damage in this Copenhagen Wolves pairing. They've already realized it. Makata is backing away from this one. Let's actually talk about this mid lane, though, because Coutard on Kha'Zix, he can really get in the face of Sharu. There's actually a little bit of a mismatch in lane phase.
The Kha'Zix pick came after the Ziggs pick, so Coutard knew exactly what he was going up against. And you're absolutely right, D-Man. As long as he's jumping on to Ziggs, especially since Ziggs uses so many of his spells to farm the lane, there's not much Sharu can retaliate with. Now, the only danger he's going to run into there is the fact that Evelynn is just ever present in games. So unless he guesses properly when to jump in, Coutard can get himself in trouble.
Look at this, amazing. It's actually just around the blue buff area. He will get spotted out by that ward, though. But there's a 3-man stack on there towards this top lane in a turret now. And actually, he's got no support right now, Kuban. He is all on his own in the 3v1.
They actually had to send Sharu up from the fountain instead of running mid lane. He had to push that a little bit. That's going to set him a little bit farther behind. And I actually wonder now if they're going to try to lane Mundo mid against Kha'Zix for a while and have Ziggs hold off the 2 people that are pushing. This is actually a smart move at the moment. Let's see, though, if Amazing wants to make some action happen.
Amazing could come around. Makata in on this turret. They could easily trade as well. I'm thinking Amazing, he's just hoping that Makata edges to the cross to the side, and he's maybe going to try and jump on him. You can see he gets tweaked over there. We do see Mundo coming up, though, so Amazing's going to have to make his move if he's going to go for it there. It looks like they're going to move in, but as soon as they spot Kuban, they back out, and then you see Coutard's already jumped in there in the cocoon. Well, it's not going to be enough. Coutard backs out. The Super Mega Bomb's coming in. Is it going to be enough? Kuban tries to get it towards Coutard. Coutard's taken so low. He will go down from this one. I tell you what, Elise could have gone back in on that one, but Kuban picks up the kill. That's going to help him out massively.
That was just straight up miscommunication by the Copenhagen Wolves. You could tell that the go was said in that, and then they saw Mundo at the turret, and that's why Coutard didn't pull back fast enough. He got himself in trouble, and he ended up giving up the kill to Mundo.
What a great hook there on towards Youngbuck. Gets the flay straight down. Youngbuck's trying to back away from this one, but the Ignite comes in. Has to use his ultimate, but I'm not sure it's enough. But now he has the support. They're going to try and turn this one around. Will he have that Wither cooldown back up? You see the flay coming back out. He's going to try and land it in there. You can see Unlimited and Forgiven following through. There is a flash ultimate available for him, but it's not going to put it down.
Youngbuck tried to wait just long enough because he knew he had the cavalry behind him, but he could not bait that one out. It turns out he burns his ultimate. Forgiven and Unlimited make it down to the bottom lane, and everyone just kind of disengages.
Everybody backs off. Let's see what items are starting to pick up here, because of course the supports, they've all been starting with that Ancient Cool, and kind of no surprise, they're switching straight in towards the Nomad's Medallion. No problem there. Looking towards Forgiven and Unlimited. They've traded, they've taken that top tower already, they've put pressure on the inner, and now they're putting pressure on this bottom outer.
So this is what Caitlyn still has over most other AD carries. It's the early game pushing, and that's what they are trying to make count. But if they overpush this turret, they gotta watch out for Eve behind them, because they do not see it.
Teleport coming in as well. That may well be Kuban. Kuban has joined them. You can see Makata's going to try and draw their attention, but is it going to be enough? They should get back to the tower. Will they go deep, though? That's a lot invested. They're surely going to turn for Dragon.
Copenhagen Wolves pulled away at exactly the right moment there, and the Eve ult was burned with almost no consequence. They're going to try the Dragon because they have Forgiven low, but it's actually a rather risky proposition here.
Well, and of course, don't forget, this is leaving Youngbuck on the top lane, all on his own. His teleport is actually, cooldown is almost ready, and he's just going to keep on farming. That's all Nasus does. He's happy to have that free lane in the top.
And he's just now getting a couple minion farm for some Q stacks. His siphoning strike on Nasus is at about 40, but the important thing here is the continued turret pressure. Lucian loves to be a turret pusher, but it's hard for him to not take harass back up against a Caitlyn since he is so horrendously outranged by Caitlyn. The big thing with Lucian is you get the skill to the double shot, and he does more burst turret damage than almost any other AD carry. He's just got to worry about taking too much damage.
So Meteor Maker's transferring back around. Kuban goes back in towards that top lane, is currently a level behind Youngbuck. We'll keep our eyes on that one. Obviously, they've not really been facing off against each other, but Kuban teleporting down to that bottom will have lost a lot of time on the experience.
Absolutely. And now it's actually Copenhagen Wolves who are the ones going for the Dragon, because Eve is way off on the other side. Unlimited, though, has to drop Tibbers.
Puts Tibbers down and actually may turn it around. Ace in the hole comes through. Just going to get through on the death sentence. Try and catch that lantern back. And he will manage to pull out there. That's going to be the Dragon for the Copenhagen Wolves, though. A clean pickup for them.
They're really recovering well from that early 2 kills they gave up in their bottom lane turret. Youngbuck did burn the teleport there to almost no effect, but it's helped kind of secure the Dragon because it meant MYM had to run back. You can see the rotation coming up now. Coutard went up top for that. And this is just the communication of Copenhagen Wolves shining through right now.
And Kubon, actually in that top lane, needs to be a little bit careful. The Mega Inferno Bomb thrown down the bottom. It's going to land. Unforgiven taken so low and limited, though, putting the pressure on. But look at that. That was Libic trying to make a play with the help of his support, but his AD carry was not there. And again, Evelyn, just a little bit too late to the party.
Yeah, Makade has not been right place, right time at all since the very start of this game, and he's not making a huge use of the early game Evelyn presence. I'm also really curious why he's sitting on a Kindle gem right now for Eve, because what everyone has been doing is Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. Since in the 2014 season, it has that new passive on it that gives you health and mana back, and Eve is a very mana-constrained champion in the jungle. But if he's going tank Evelyn, that's something that wasn't even used in Season 3, and that seems to be the direction he's going with that Kindle gem.
So first tower of the game down, and this is obviously the new jungle Wraith that's in there, and McKenna taking that one away gives good gold. 64 gold you see there, that will only increase. Actually thinking about possibly going for Forgiven here, but the duo lane still lingering around. If they push for this one, almost certainly will go for the kill, puts the ward down straight on top.
I don't think he got 100% seen there, though, but his team's telling him to get away. I mean, the Thresh Lantern's there, he takes a ride.
Takes it, gets out of there, because Amazing was just coming around. So, everything at a balance right now. Copenhagen Wolves, 300 gold behind Meteor Makers, despite the fact they're looking good in lanes, but of course that's the farming potential that Meteor Makers have right now. We said their lane phase would be strong, but as we start to come out of the lane phase, how do you see this progressing?
It doesn't really feel like Meteor Makers is winning right now to me. Only because Youngbuck is going to continue to farm. Mundo at this point can't really push him out of lane. The Caitlyn pressure on the lanes from Forgiven seems to be really wearing down Meteor Makers. The fact that Copenhagen Wolves did take the 2 deaths at the start, but have since been able to take 2 additional towers and also some return kills, means I think their momentum is just going to continue to swing through here.
Well, movement of Charu trying desperately to try and create things, but again, Kubon and Youngbuck head-to-head in this top lane. Kubon had to pop that ultimate to keep that regen going, keep himself active in lane, but he is constantly being caught out. The hook, though, on Unlimited, that should be enough. Makala comes in, Tibbers has to come out, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Mega Inferno comes in, flashes out, but the hate spikes from Makala will land, and Libic actually picks up the kill.
They are really thinking about turning this one around, but they just do not have the firepower, D-Man. And that was Unlimited trying to get a fairly deep ward and maybe scout Evelyn while she was tracking a jungle buff. But that's the danger of trying to ward deep in the jungle, is if you do find the jungler on your first trip, you're dead.
They were aggressive there from Charu, flashing in, not able to land that ignite down though, and didn't manage to get the bomb. Instead tried to flash and catch everything on towards Coutard at once, but that does force him out of lane. That means Charu will continue to put pressure on that mid lane turret.
And that was really close to being a kill, D-Man. If he'd just been able to get in range for that ignite, it would have been a dead man. And Youngbuck, he's going to have to deal with Eve again.
Okay, Makado is going to come in this time. He will find him. Youngbuck pops that ultimate. Is it going to give him enough to get away? The flash is there. A Cleaver does manage to land. They're going to go for the tower dive. It's going to be aggressive. Will it be enough? Yes, it will. That is the top lane going down.
Just a brute force dive right there. I mean, panned away because we knew he was done. Mundo can tank the turret all day long with his ultimate running. Flash Nasus is also a little bit odd. We normally see the ghost on him, but that is just Youngbuck's style right here, and it hasn't worked out too well for him as of yet.
Amazing going aggressive, doesn't land the cocoon, but surely has enough damage. There's the cocoon, the poison comes in, switches to spider form, just needs to sink in. Kubon hasn't got that ultimate available, can't get the health regen, and Amazing gets the return kill.
So that moves it to 5-3. You can see Amazing is just starting to get going. Both junglers have completed their big jungle items, so their gold generation now, at least from the mid game, is going to be giving them those conservation stacks. If they're not jungling, it'll stack up and they can get up to 40 extra gold every time they finish a big jungle mob. That'll really help accelerate their gold later on in the game. But the rest of the lanes, I still feel like they're going more to Copenhagen Wolves. Yes, Charu did do a little bit of work on Ziggs, but he couldn't quite land the kill onto Kautard. And once Kautard, I think he's going to go for that Ravenous Hydra after his Bloodthirster. Once he gets that going, I think it's going to be a little bit too much for the squishies on MYM to handle.
Yeah, I just don't see what they can... how they can stop Charu getting taken down, or possibly Makler, because there's a lot jumping straight in it. The Wither's going to take someone out of the game as well. The pressure is still coming out from Charu, though, working it well against Kautard. I mean, let's face it, Kautard never, ever won an LCS match in his life. He played for the Copenhagen Wolves. 0-5 he went. Whereas Charu, he has faced the best in Europe and certainly come out quite successful in a lot of those matchups.
He had an entire season to play against those European mid laners. 28 games for himself versus just the 5 of Kautard. And now, he has a combat summoner in lane. He's not running teleport, so he's taken the weights off, and he's able to be a little bit more powerful. It's a bit of an odd Ziggs build too, actually, if we take a look at it. He's went Haunting Guise and a Tear of the Goddess, and this is because he's against a physical damage mid laner in Kautard, so he didn't want to get the excess magic resistance from the Chalice of Harmony, and instead is getting the health from the Haunting Guise as kind of a pseudo-defensive item, but he still needs the mana since he Ziggs with the Tear of the Goddess. I think later on in the game, we will expect a Zhonya's Hourglass to come out from Charu, but he's just made that build adaptation because he's against the Kha'Zix.
Well, Dragon is going to be the focus of target here. Mega Inferno Bomb again thrown out and actually caught 3 members of Copenhagen Wolves. That's certainly going to give them pause for thought to come into this one, because Meteor Makers have already started the Dragon.
That was a fantastic Mega Inferno Bomb by Charu. He completely avoided the conflict and secured his team a Dragon by catching so many people with it and getting Copenhagen Wolves low.
And Meteor Makers, oh, the Death Sentence's not quite landed. Teleport coming in, that's going to be Kubon joining the party. They're going to try and chase down the Copenhagen Wolves. They could cut them off if he lands his Cleaver. He manages to pop his ultimate. Makata looking as well. Amazing seems to be the focus target, but everybody dispersing just at the right point.
It's actually rather humorous to watch these guys teleport in, because Nasus and Mundo can't stop each other from teleporting, but they can sure make sure that they're slow when they get in. So Mundo throws cleavers at Youngbuck. Youngbuck withers Mundo, and when they teleport in, there's this very slow-moving tank, and it doesn't have much effectiveness.
Evelyn coming around the backside there, getting a poke on towards him, but Kautard switches it around and then focus on towards Makata. Has to take that Lantern and get the hell out of there.
Lantern to safety, but another ultimate used without much impact. Count Tibbers on the list of that one.
Makler having to use that dash to avoid the Tibbers coming down. The flash from Unlimited not quite finding his target, and that's a 50 gold that both of these mid laners want to pick up. Is going to be Ziggs, I think they got that. Charu with the bomb takes that 50 gold. That's something actually I've noticed. A lot of these supports, now that everybody's playing Annie, they sometimes leave Tibbers just kind of hanging out there. That's 50 gold. So many of these players fight tooth and nail over that Siege minion for that 40 plus gold.
Yeah.
Yet they just let 50 gold go free.
I know, and also, if you have the the Relic Shield, the gold share counts with Tibbers because it's a minion, so that's an extra little bit of incentive if it happens. But this is a pretty big siege that MYM's trying to throw down right now. The Lucian ultimate has just been burned to keep them back, but I don't know if they're actually going to be able to fully siege this one. Unlimited has to wait until Tibbers is back, and then they can fully repel.
Well, they're going to keep on poking down. They keep throwing out those bombs. They have got a good poke ability. And honestly, there's not a great deal of range other than the Piltover Peacemaker from Copenhagen Wolves to actually stop that siege potential.
And the gold lead is increasing a little bit by MYM. It's mostly because they were able to secure that last dragon thanks to Charu. But if Copenhagen Wolves can't avoid taking clusters of AoE damage from Charu's poke, things could continue to go that way.
So everybody backing off. Infinity Edge first item for Makler instead of the Bloodthirster, which I thought he may well go. Bloodthirster, of course, was picked up by Forgiven some time ago along with those Berserker boots. So interesting picks for them. Hex Drinker picked up by Kautard, of course. He's been against Charu the whole time, been focused, and actually been taken down by him so far. So both mid laners reacting to one another in their picks.
I'm actually really surprised by the Infinity Edge on Makler because almost every Lucian you see will either go Bloodthirster first, since he has such aggressive AD ratios, or Trinity Force, because people like the back and forth kind of in and out play of Lucian and get those Trinity Force procs. Infinity Edge is just a whole other ball game. The only reason you would go Infinity Edge is because the double shot has the potential to crit on Lucian, but even that crit is actually reduced by 50% damage, and it's a 50% crit as well. So I don't like the Infinity Edge personally on Lucian.
Kautar getting hooked in immediately, has to jump out. That dead center's been landing quite successfully from Limburg. Of course, used to play Zyra all the time, so no surprise those grasping roots always used to find their home. So managed to just effectively do the same skill shot, trying to get the steal with the Mega Inferno Bomb not in range.
And as long as we're on the topic of AD carry item builds, you can see Forgiven is going for the static Shiv eventually, and that is a reaction to them not having that much wave clear, as we saw earlier while MYM was trying to siege Copenhagen Wolves down. Once Forgiven gets that static Shiv, it's going to make it much easier for them to keep their lanes pushed and also defend at turrets.
Meanwhile, the top lane as well, no surprise here. We're going to see a Sunfire Cape and a Spirit Visage on both of them. Kind of the standard these days in the top lane.
Well, at least one of them has the Sunfire Cape, and the other one has the Spirit Visage.
Yeah.
So we got a little bit of variety up there.
For now.
Yeah, but really, Young Buck's doing that. Cooldown reduction, more siphoning strikes. Also, Mundo's not going to be able to do crap with him to those cleavers as long as he's got the Spirit Visage. And the Sunfire Cape is the same for Mundo. Nasus won't be able to damage him for a while.
And I want to talk about what Amazing's doing, because he's gone for the Aegis of Legion. That's something that, you know, a lot of the junglers, and actually reading, say, Diamond did his AMA the other day, and like talking about, we may have a bit of aggression, but we'll get back to that in a moment. We'll see whether Makler does manage to try and steal this one away. You can see the aggression is going to be one down. Lucian getting caught out the side there. Makler goes down, and that means the blue buff is now in turmoil. Youngbuck comes around, tries to secure it. Actually, I think it was stolen away there. Smite was used by Amazing to make sure it was secure.
Wow, and that was through Makler's barrier. So Kautar ate him entirely, and this is just allowing Copenhagen Wolves to crush through the mid lane.
So Copenhagen Wolves using good positional advantage there, forcing the pressure on the blue, and then taking that mid lane turret. So great turnaround from Copenhagen Wolves, and this is what we're talking about. It also always felt like the Wolves are actually in control, but Meteor Makers, they're going to try to react to this one. You can see putting a bit of pressure in that mid lane. Red Buff's going to go across, and everybody backs away.
And gold leads can lie so many times, especially when you have a slight mismatch or strange interactions with team compositions. It doesn't matter really how much gold MYM is up if Kautar individually is strong and he gets to destroy the AD carry before a fight begins. That's what's happened in that fight, and that's actually what ended up moving the gold a little bit closer. They're dead even now.
So moving back to the jungle point of view, and obviously yourself previously as the jungle king for Dignitas many, many moons ago at IPL 3.
Why, thank you.
How do you make the new jungle? Of course, we're seeing the Aegis Legion moved into the Locket. Listening to Diamond earlier on, he's talked about, you know, how in the 2014 season, suddenly the junglers have freedom to choose their item builds. Yet, actually looking at these item builds, they're going fairly Season 3.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Amazing's item build, that's exactly what you would see in Elise's inventory. They will be maybe contending over this dragon very shortly, so I'll get back to that one right now, D-Man, because there's a teleport up on Youngbuck in the top lane. I feel like Copenhagen Wolves, unless they can take this right away, wants to just go back and forth as much as possible while Youngbuck pushes that lane and gets more siphoning strike stacks.
And you can see the pings coming down the bottom there. Copenhagen Wolves, the hook on towards Kautar. Will it follow through? Forces him to jump it away. That's going to be down for a long time. It's Unlimited that's getting caught out here. A lot of damage going towards him. Not enough. Mega Inferno Bomb not going to take him down. Yes! No! The Spectrum took him down. The new minion.
It got aggroed by the Mega Inferno Bomb, and it hit the closest target. So Unlimited goes down, the Dragon goes down for MYM, and they come out way on top of that little trade.
Wow. Well, getting by with a little help from their friends there. Meteor Makers pick up their Dragon and now have a 1,000 gold lead. This is a tight game. Copenhagen Wolves came into this one overwhelming favorites after their 5-0 sweep, and everybody, including, honestly, ourselves, were thinking this could be a sweet match, but Meteor Makers, they are not done yet.
And also, it's strange how the incumbent LCS team is actually the big underdogs right now, and how the pressure's not necessarily on them. But let's take a look at this Wraith again. You can see the edge hit it, and the one auto attack. If Kautar would have been a little bit closer and actually taken some bomb damage with him, it would have effectively saved the life of poor Annie, but it did not.
It's not really something you think about when you see a Mega Inferno Bomb coming in, though, is it really? So Kubon goes it back in towards that top lane, and obviously the battle of the two tops is really something that's not worth focusing on, because they're just going to keep poking each other. But when everybody else gets involved, that's when you want to start seeing things. Makler having to get the hell out of here. Makata, sorry, easy to confuse the Kukia brothers.
Yeah, the Talisman of Ascension was popped right there to try and get something happening, but nothing doing. I think we got a window now to talk about the Copenhagen
jungle.
Wolves a little bit, and the jungle. We'll go to the jungle first, and then we'll get to the Copenhagen Wolves. I definitely think that the item builds right now are conservative, to say the least. Neither of these guys decided to go all out aggressive or offensive with it, and I think that's why it feels a lot more like Season 3.
Lipic wanted to try and create something there a little bit more aggressive. He is in the new support game after all. They're thinking, I can create a play to throw out that hook, but instead he's just hitting the goddamn tower, so it's all good. Makata coming around, and again, the spider's there, but the culling coming out. Counter! Oh, he fails the jump! He failed the jump, but the bomb missed! He missed it. Charu just has to do it, has to use the flash, will get the kill eventually.
And we got the same action coming on the other side because Forgiven is flanked around the back.
Forgiven in there, he's putting all the damage down. He's the man that got the pentakill in the play-ins, and he does manage to get the kill on Lipic. Lipic trying desperately to get away with that one, but not gonna happen.
That was pretty much the fastest follow flash over wall I've ever seen. He really wanted to kill Lipic right there, and why not? He's farmed 229 minions, and he got his first champion right there.
Fantastic stuff. So, 7-5. Meteor Maker still with a 2,000 gold advantage, but you can see Charu is in there, stealing away the blue buff once again. So they are managing to take something from it. That play happens in the top, the play happens in the bottom. Everybody trying to take an objective from it. This time, Meteor Makers get the blue.
And it's a good thing he's got that blue. He's also got his Zhonya's Hourglass right now for Charu. So at least he's off the hit list right now for Kautar's Kazakhs. But Mackler on Lucian still isn't. He's going a very confusing build right now on Lucian because he rushed the Infinity Edge, but then instead of comboing that with other attack speed or critical strike items, he's going for a Sheen, so he might be building the Triforce second. And that's not going to help his survivability either against Kautard. So we really need to watch Mackler in teamfights and trigger his, and just look for his effectiveness and his ability to stay alive.
So we see how that works out. A lot of armor being stacked out as well by Meteor Makers. Very much aware that there's not a great deal of ability power damage going to come out from the Copenhagen Wolves.
Especially since Amazing has went so conservative with his Elise build. He doesn't even have the magic penetration right now. At the very least, you get a lot of magic penetration on Elise, so her percent damage abilities can tick down. Someone like Kuban's Mundo. Elise is known as one of the few kind of counters to Dr. Mundo in this game, but if he's not going to build magic penetration, that's not going to be the case.
Copenhagen Wolves setting up for something in this mid lane, pushing it towards the turret, but again, you can see Lipic and Mackler in there, clearing out the waves, pushing them back, and actually trying to create a play. Kuban, pings going down all over the place. A lot of wards getting dashed out. Of course, everyone with those trinkets. And speaking of trinkets, we've already seen those trinkets are adjusting. You can see 4 red trinkets now.
Started the game with 1 red trinket. Amazing was the only one to have one. And now, like we thought, once the supports got a Sightstone, they swapped it to the trinket. And they're trying to clear out a little bit more of the vision game. But as you can see, at least in the 2014 season, it's much harder to actually sweep the map for wards. Only 1 pink ward can happen from each person, plus they need the inventory spot for it, or they have to actually spend the gold to upgrade their warding totem to the one that can give the pink ward. And that's why there's so many little blue wards on the map for MYM, which incidentally is making it difficult for Kautard to find the solo isolated targets like he wants to.
Well, Mackler goes back, gets himself that phage, confirming that it will be the Trinity Force he's going for. Meanwhile, the last Whisper now completed by Forgiven. So Forgiven seemingly ahead in the AD carry fight.
Yeah, I mean, you can see he's actually up 60 farm. His gold is 1,000 higher, which makes sense when you see that he has more items right now. His farming capabilities on Caitlyn have been awesome. We're going to see a bit more of this.
Kuban's just carrying on. He's like, I don't care about you, young buck. I'm just going to take this tower down, hit my ulti, and walk away. But Amazing has other ideas. How's he going to land that? He has got flash. He could flash Cocoon here. And you can see Kuban already realizing the danger, using his flash to get away.
Yeah, he also was full health by the end of that gank. And there's the Shurelya's, old Shurelya's, forcing a flash.
Death sentence not going to come in from Lipic, from Lipic. He does back away, and again there's bomb. The wave clear that Charu has, though, he can keep on shoving that lane, making sure that nothing happens in that mid. Now building up that damage, of course, like you mentioned earlier on. He's got that Zhonya's Hourglass, so Kautard not going to be jumping on him. And again, we're setting up 5 seconds to Dragon. Who will contend this one?
Yeah.
Oh, that will.
What's up? That's going to happen.
Kautar gets caught in. He's surely not going to get out of this one. Living though, ace in the hole will come in, and Kautar jumps straight in and out to get away from that one. Mega Inferno Bomb actually doesn't really find his target. We can see Unlimited. He's going to go down around the side, but Kautar has to flash away from this one. Charu keeping those bombs going. Forgiven taking low. Kubon comes around the side. That's going to be Forgiven going down. Caitlyn is dropped. They're going to continue chasing. Youngbuck's in trouble now. He's got no mana. Kautar low. Kubon's going to chase on towards him. Kautar trying to create something, but instead he just walks straight into a giantly fed Mundo. Charu gets himself a kill. Amazing in trouble. This could be the ace for me or Makers as Amazing gets tracked down. You're not going to escape those cleavers, and Kubon just taking chunks out of him. That's the ace and the triple kill for Kubon.
Once Kubon went into that fight, there was no stopping Dr. Mundo because Copenhagen Wolves just was overcommitted at that point. Look, it was already low when this fight started, and Kautar did his jump in just to get a reset, but take account of the fight right now. Forgiven put himself in a very dangerous spot there, and he over-chased a little bit because he got trapped behind Mundo. And once they were there, they were trapped between Ziggs bombs and a giant man with a cleaver, and they could not run away fast enough. Since they got the ace, they got the Baron on top of that, and I think they're definitely ahead now.
And a very fed Kubon, 5-1-1 now. Obviously completed that Spirit Visage, so getting the build complete. Actually, difference from Youngbuck as well. He went for the Randian's Omen. But look at the difference. Kautar trying to go full on aggression, has to get in there. But now there's a Zhonya's Hourglass come out from Makata, so two targets off that list. And honestly, Mio Makers are looking good in game one.
And we didn't quite get to it earlier, but Copenhagen Wolves seemed obviously very confident coming in. But everyone on that team 100% expects to be in the LCS. A lot of them, I think, expect to sweep this series against MYM, only because MYM was looking so weak coming in to this promotion tournament. But if Copenhagen Wolves drops the first game, and suddenly they're in a situation where they have to win 3 of the next 4 against a team that just beat them, that's a whole lot of pressure that they haven't been under before. And that is what MYM was talking about when they have that LCS experience. And for 3 of them, they've been on the same team for 1,000 days plus. They're the ones that can handle these types of situations.
We should also mention, obviously, that Dragon starting to be worth more gold as the game progresses. 31 minutes in, that Dragon is becoming an important part in this game, but there's going to be pressure on this mid lane. I'll be surprised if the Copenhagen Wolves choose to defend this one. They will let it go down. They're going to get engaged though. What are they doing? Youngman gets called out. He's the tankiest member, and he's just dropping like flies. This is a Baron up Meteor Makers. Kubon trying to get away. Everybody blocking that is in the hole, and they just disengage, no problem at all.
That was one of those fights where they stood at the turret for a little bit too long, and they had a split second to catch someone, and MYM did. But even with all that, they were dangerously low in that fight. If Mundo would have fallen, he was extremely low, below 200 health at some point. That could have been a chain reaction situation with Kautar mopping through the rest of their team, getting rid of their Baron buffs, and turning the game around. But that's League of Legends sometimes. It didn't happen. The Baron buff is regenning all of them up thanks to its increased health regeneration, and turret number 2 may be on its way.
And they can't fight this one.
No
All
way.
their ultimates are down. They have to back out of this fight, but instead they are sticking around perhaps a little bit too long. Amazing is still there. They're putting the pressure down. Makata really wants to get involved. Libic, we've already seen him throwing those death sentences out and landing them, but instead they back away again, and Meteor Makers take themselves a second inner turret.
Yeah, nothing Copenhagen Wolves could have realistically done to stop that. They put up a bit of just a showing to say like, yeah, we're going to give you 1, but not 2. Please don't think about going through for others. But really, ever since that team fight at the Dragon Pit for MYM, the strength that Kubon is going to pick up from that on Dr. Mundo, he's shown he's going to be extremely hard to deal with. And now the fact that the Rabadon's death cap has been completed for Charu means really scary things for Copenhagen Wolves. It's just a Hex Drinker protecting Kautar from that onslaught of magic damage right now. And if Kautar can't stay alive long enough for the fight to have a long duration and get people low, there's no way Copenhagen Wolves comes back.
Yeah, that is a very scary bomb coming to come towards him. Once Ziggs starts getting fed, once that damage starts clocking on towards him, he can do incredible amounts of poke on the towers, sieging you down. Kautar coming, looking towards the blue, and perhaps may get caught out there. Need a little poke, managed to put the ward down in the death bush, and instead it's Meteor Makers traversing towards that top lane, and they're going to keep that pressure going.
And one thing that's actually quite interesting for MYM is Makate went for the magic penetration and the ability power after he went for the tank spirit. And they really want to chase down Mundo, but this is a tough chase to make.
Just stands around the lantern, thinking about it. And he's like, I don't need that lantern. I don't need it. I am Mundo. I do go where I please. He's 6-1-1, but instead McCanna's going to get caught out. Ace in the hole comes in. The Ignite should burn him down. Oh! Zonya's Hourglass. Will he get saved? No. Timbers comes in. He flashes just at the right time. Cullen comes out, but instead Macklin's in trouble. No. Piltover not landing. And now Kubon comes in around the side. Forgiven gets hooked in there. Kubon takes him down. Now he turns his attention towards Kowtow. Kowtow tries to come around. Macklin's still poking from the side there. Another one flashes away. Kowtow jumps up. He can't get a reset. He finally gets one, but Kubon is all over him like a rash. And Charu comes in, pops his own Zonyas. He gets the kill. They can turn this around. Charu gets in. Mega Inferno Bomb comes in, gets another one down. Kubon keeps the damage down. Youngbuck should have the damage. Macklin's still waiting in the wings, trying to poke off from range. Amazing is so low. Kubon's regen, is he going to be enough to keep him at bay here? I don't think it is. They've had to leave him alone. Kubon now, look at him coming in. McCanna comes back in. He's going to catch on towards him. McCanna gets one. Youngbuck taking so low. He will eventually drop. Oh my God, it's a double kill for McCanna. Back and forth action, but that is the ace for Meteor Makers once again.
What an incredible fight this was. Just track how many people on MYM would have been an inch from death and they avoided it with the Zonyas or just by moving a little bit out of the way. This has to be a backbreaker for Copenhagen Wolves because you get so many of them infinitely low. Even that flash right there by Mackler. And that comes in handy later because Mackler stuck around the edges of this fight and was able to turn it around at the end. That Zonya's right there by Ziggs delayed his own demise and meant he got the Mega Inferno Bomb down. And that fight went on for about 2 more minutes and we can't watch the whole thing because they're still going.
They're back at it once again, chasing Kubon. Have they not learned? This time Tibbers goes down, the claw's coming out. This time they should take him down. Ace in the hole is gonna finish it off. And finally they drop him, and that was an 8-1 for Mundo, and that's actually given a lot of gold to Forgiven.
Yeah, that kill's got to feel pretty good right now because they just spent so long trying to get him down, and they got to regroup a little bit. That was probably one of those frustration, desperation kills, being like, get this guy right now because we can't win a fight when he's alive, throwing cleavers at us the entire time. And Copenhagen Wolves is going to try to turn something off now. We're almost at maximum death timer time in the game right now, so he's down for a long time, and Copenhagen Wolves is on the assault.
Mackler in trouble, has to take the lantern to back away, and they're going to try and force down this middle turret, but again, Charu is back throwing out those bombs, and that will keep them at bay. Look at the spawn timers. 22 seconds to Baron, 33 seconds to Dragon. They are now both objectives that these teams will want to fight over.
And Copenhagen Wolves has to be incredibly careful not to get caught in the Baron pit against a Ziggs and an Evelyn, because the AoE upfront damage that would happen from that is just more than they can handle as a team. If Copenhagen Wolves gets more of a scattered fight, they're actually in the advantage. Even though we just saw a scattered fight that MYM came on top of, team composition-wise, that would be Copenhagen Wolves having an edge. This is immensely risky, but they saw Lucian bottom lane, so they decided to try it.
Yeah, immediately they back out because the ward's positioning the coverage, but that has given Youngbuck time to press the bottom lane. He will take that tower down in no time.
So fast right there. You can see the massive amounts of stacks on his siphoning strike right now. 477 bonus damage, only going to get higher from the rest of this game. But again, it's a race for the middle turret. This is the moment in the game where everything is decided. Yes, MYM is in the lead, but we saw how close that last fight was when Copenhagen Wolves got their last ace, and that gives Copenhagen Wolves confidence.
Wise choice from Meteor Makers. They thought about pushing towards that inhibitor instead. Go for the Dragon, realizing it's worth more gold. Get the blue buff as well, taking it for Charu. And now again, Meteor Makers are in good positional advantage for this Baron.
And amazingly, at this point in the game, when everyone in the game is level 15 or above, Dragon's worth a combined 1,300 gold, which is only 200 gold less than Baron. So even though MYM isn't wearing the Baron buff right now, they just got a whole bunch of gold, as you were saying, and it was by far the smartest move to make at the time.
And you can see, obviously, that relays into, what, 11,000 gold advantage. And in terms of items, that could be a very big deal for the next team fight. We're just waiting for Mackler to get that red buff. He's going to be joining that top lane. But look at Youngbuck, still waiting in the wings. If they push in, he has the teleport. He could keep on pressuring that bottom inhibitor turret while they fight for the Baron.
And I'm wondering how impactful Youngbuck is going to be in the remainder of these team fights, because thus far in the game, he has basically been a non-factor. A 1 in 5 Nasus, his lane opponent's 8-2 on Mundo. When they teleport into fights, we've seen who's had the larger impact. It's Mundo with the move speed of his ultimate and the slow spam from his cleavers, chasing down and finishing fights for MYM. So Youngbuck, especially with that flash on Nasus, has just been kited around by all the slows that MYM has to throw at him, and he has not made an impact. So right now, it would almost be better if he just stayed bottom. Even if MYM goes for that Baron, I wonder if they just try and push and take an inhibitor with Nasus.
Well, Pink Ward was placed down there, but that's going to get taken down now because, of course, it is visible in 3.14. 3.15, of course, just gone live. This is 3.14 we are playing on because we have to give the players a good 2-week break to make sure they know exactly what's going on and also give ourselves a bit of a break on the new patch to figure out what's going on.
45 minutes on the new patch wouldn't be enough for the promotion tournament into the LCS.
Yeah.
Oh, the hook!
The hook's going to go in, and actually Libic follows it through, throws the box down. It's going to be amazing with the cooling coming down on towards him. Mega Inferno Bomb will catch on towards Forgiven, and now the rest of the team, Amazing is going to go down. The amount of damage that went on to Forgiven was incredible there. Makala comes around the side. Libic taken very, very low. Lucian does get dropped. Kautar tries to jump away. Not too sure. It's a battle in the top lane as meanwhile around the side, but Makala is going to follow on towards Kautar. It's a one-on-one, and there's only one winner there. Charu will get caught out. No, not quite enough. Pops the Zhonya's. He's safe again, and it's the third ace of the game for Meet Your Makers.
Another dominating fight by Meet Your Makers. It's because they're just catching Copenhagen Wolves with a couple key skills, and this fight was all about Forgiven. Watch the Caitlyn. I didn't see how he died the first time, but you see Makata gets the ultimate on him as the bomb hits him in the face, and just a tip with that culling finished him off for the tickle kill, and it was just, after that, since he's most of Copenhagen Wolves' sustained damage, it was Mundo running around and finishing them off. Copenhagen Wolves had to scatter. Youngbuck could not chase down because without the damage support of Caitlyn, he can't do it all himself, and that is a lot of kills piling up for MYM in this game.
A lot of kills indeed, and wow, what a fight. Now Meet Your Makers are looking very good for game one. Something I wasn't myself expecting to say because Copenhagen Wolves looked so good the other week, but Meet Your Makers have proven they've used this off-season, they've used this new patch to really work it. But you've got to look at the picks as well that they got. They got Evelyn, which has been banned so heavily. They've got Lucian and Thresh as a combo. They've got Ziggs in the mid lane. They've got a lot of the big favorite, current favorite, I should say, 3.14 picks because nothing is written in stone right now.
Absolutely nothing. There's going to be much left to change on this patch, but this is what's going to be their make or break into the LCS. And we also need to remember, this is actually the third promotion tournament that MYM is playing in. Sure, it's the third one for Youngbuck, but they've been in this 3 times already.
A Guardian Angel picked up by Youngbuck. I mean, I know he's dying a lot.
I don't agree.
But I'm not sure. Surely he needs damage or something, like a Trinity Force, anything in there to basically make himself a target, because right now, nobody's going to go for him, so why even get the Guardian Angel?
Yeah, at the moment, Youngbuck is one of the last remaining members in team fights, and it's him not being able to chase down people that is his main weakness. We'll see if he can put himself in some really silly positions and basically force focus on himself to try and make that Guardian Angel worth something, but it is a skeptical choice I have there.
So we do see the siege on now. Meet Your Makers, of course, they've got the Baron, they've taken the inhibitor turret, but Kubon's happy to just take those traps, and they're going to keep putting the pressure, but it's really picks they're looking for as well. You can see they're only minimalistically focusing. Makler will take down an inhibitor, and they really want to get damage. Look at how much went on towards Kautar. Inferno Bomb was thrown out, didn't find its target though, but Charu is doing scary damage right now.
I mean, look at that. He's got a huge amount of magic penetration, too. He's basically 6-item Ziggs with, oh, hello, about 840 ability power.
840 ability power.
And this siege is tough to stop. You can see Makata in the back. He actually wants to engage on this. They just got the Locket of the Iron Solari down. So if Copenhagen Wolves overstays a little bit at this turret as it's falling, they'd fall down.
Well, they managed to find him. Kautar got a little poke on towards him, but that means that Meet Your Makers have themselves a little bit of free time on towards that turret. He's going to keep on farming those minions. Super minions will be shoving their way up that mid lane in a moment. We do see across in the mid lane, Kautar just jumping across, ace in the hole.
Nope.
Not going to land. He went out of vision. And, of course, the Zhonya's Hourglass will flop him down. But look at that. The mines on Amazing took him down to half health.
And Amazing, even though he went basically full tank Elise, 840 ability power is a little bit too much for him to deal with right now, at least because they were able to get Eve low thanks to Kautar jumping on him with Kha'Zix. They are lasting this Baron buff a little bit. Their turret's only half of the way down, and the Baron buff only has about a minute left. So if they hold a little bit longer, they might have a chance of coming back.
Meteor Makers stand their ground. The Radiant waiting to push in. Kubon happy to take some of the turret damage there. He can just regen that. Youngbuck getting hooked in there, but they didn't want him as a target. They're just going to keep on throwing it out there. Bombs continuing to go in. Amazing, getting dropped down once again, and the siege continues. While this Baron buff stays, they will keep the pressure on this turret.
They're getting a little bit lower and lower. Even the mana is starting to wane on Kha'Zix and Elise right now. It's going to be very difficult to hold through the next wave. You can see MYM has already chunked a little bit. Eva's thinking about flanking, and it's make or break for Copenhagen Wolves inhibitor turret on this wave.
Here we go, the wave goes in. Youngbuck's desperately trying to keep himself at bay, but they're keeping the pressure on. Kubon continuing to drive on in there with that Baron buff. And not too long left on it, by the way. It's about to wear off. They're going to keep that pressure on. Kautard catching a couple of bombs himself. They're having to go across to the side, but those mines continue getting thrown out. There's very little left on it. Just need to get a little bit of time for Mackler on towards that turret, and it will drop. But I'm not too sure whether the Meteor Makers are going to back off here.
Well, Libic is about half health. You can see Mackler, even with that Guardian Angel, has gotten low, but they have been so successful in previous team fights. Hanging around without the Baron is a risk in itself.
The calling comes in, but Tibbers manages to land on 4 members of Meteor Makers. This is do or die time for Kautard. Can he get in? He gets on towards McKenna. Flashes for it, can get on towards him. Jumps in, gets the reset, gets on towards Libic, gets another reset, jumps across. Charu, the mine go down, but he is a full mana and a very, very scary Ziggs. They will not pursue, but they got 3 kills.
It was fantastic fight timing by Copenhagen Wolves. They did withstand the Baron push from Meteor Makers. And since, with the new inhibitors, by the way, the other lanes aren't pushing down when the middle is dead, so actually having the middle inhibitor down for once was an advantage because it was close access for keeping the wave pushed back while still having 5 people to defend that outer turret. And most importantly, it meant the top lane wasn't getting pushed for Copenhagen Wolves, which is why they could do that.
And again, though, the Dragon does go down. 250 gold this time going across towards them, so it's really stacking up. And look at this fight.
Yeah, it was the Flash Tibbers that hit 3, and most importantly, the fact that Kautard actually got the reset. It allowed him to finish the kill onto Thresh and expended Charu's flash on Ziggs as well.
And that's what they need. They are squishy targets if he can get some free time in them, and Kautard finally getting that aggression in there, but now another Guardian Angel's being picked up, this time by Kha'Zix, and that is a very good choice for him right now because his item build is almost complete.
Yeah, that's the Guardian Angel that is a little bit more important right now. I think if Forgiven is able to finish his item build, that could be the final thing the Copenhagen Wolves wants to come back into this game, because we're looking at the gold right now. It's 15,000. That seems like the game should be completely in MYM's favor. But there's so much of it. Like 82,000 to 67,000 is a much higher number than we would have seen at 46 minutes in the previous season of League of Legends. So the builds are much closer to being maxed right now. Once Kautard and Forgiven reach max items, all bets are almost off in that sense. And that could mean Copenhagen Wolves still has a chance.
Guardian Angel for Mackler was popped in that last fight. We should take note of that. Did keep hold of it, didn't sell it off for anything, but look at Mackler. Youngbuck is ready and waiting. I'm not too sure if he's got the damage to maybe drive through, but he certainly should have a bit. He's got that sheen on him this time around, so he is starting to build towards that Trinity Force, but again, they back off, and the rest of Meteor Makers drive through. Now they know Youngbuck's position. He does have teleport available, though.
And I don't think sieging up the middle inhibitor without a Baron buff by MYM is a good idea, especially after what happened to them in the last fight, getting caught by a 3-man Tibersalt and then chased down by Kha'Zix. This is a very timely and impressive turtle by Copenhagen Wolves. What I think MYM will need to do to come back in this one is to somehow kill Forgiven at the start of a fight like they had previously.
Unlimited trying to make a pick here, using that Shirelius, but it's Makata that's been found by Kautard. He will get the kill, and that is Kautard getting himself another 8-5-2 on the board now.
And the fact that that is a 70-second death timer on Makade, with the Baron still being up, means we could see more fighting.
But they're going for Youngbuck, and it's possibly the wrong target, but the Mega Inferno bomb comes in, the culling comes around, it's a 1-for-1 trade so far. Amazing eats another bomb, he gets caught out, gets popped up, gets managed to get towards the race, but look at Kubon. Kubon just tanking up 2 members off the side there, and now they're going to go in towards Youngbuck. He has that Guardian Angel, but it may not do much good. Mackler coming around there, but in comes Kautard. Is it going to be enough? No! The Zhonya's catches him out, it pops his Guardian Angel, but the damage still coming back in there. He's going to rest back in. He can get down towards Cubon, get the reset, jump on Charu, he gets it, and that is the ace for Copenhagen Wolves. They could go straight for Baron.
The long-awaited ace by Copenhagen Wolves with nearly 6 items on Coutard and a very strong Forgiven. They're able to finish off at the end of this fight, and look at how low they were. We knew that the Guardian Angel was going to come in handy here, and MYM was holding their damage to try and finish off Kha'Zix, which meant Forgiven was wailing away on the rest of their team, and that's the reason once Kha'Zix res, he could finish them off with a double kill.
They get the Baron down as well. Copenhagen Wolves turn this fight around. Have they managed to hold out the siege that Meteor Makers had on them? Can they push and put the pressure down? That middle turret will go down before everyone gets back in time. And don't forget, Forgiven, he's been farming away for days. 477 minions down. He's nearly got 20,000 gold, along with Charu, who's got 20k gold. He's catching up, and that's a very, very fed Caitlyn.
Yeah, these are just goofy gold numbers that we're looking at right now. There's 20,000 gold on Ziggs and 4,000 unspent gold on Forgiven. He's 6 items Caitlyn. That's done. Coutard's going to be 6 item Kha'Zix. If he wants to complete his Maw of Malmortius, he's got it. And yeah, of course he does. You can see Caitlyn finished her Mercurial Scimitar as well. That's what they wanted. They were actually able to turn a fight before they even had the full 6 items because they were close enough. Now it all just comes down to execution, as it has for most of this game. Copenhagen Wolves was so close to winning these fights again and again as they were falling behind, but it never quite broke them because instead of getting extra inhibitors and 2 inhibitors down, MYM would go for the Baron, but then not be able to finish off the next inhibitor. And it seems like Copenhagen Wolves may have turned this one. Even though it's 10,000 gold, based on that last 5-for-1 fight, MYM might be on their back foot here.
And Copenhagen Wolves, in the group stages, in the play-ins, the round robin, they managed to turn around the match against STO where they should have lost, but they managed to pull back, get that win. They've got the determination to stick around. I can never remember the damn word for it, but help me out here,
what?
man.
The determination word.
No, that's not the one I'm
savvy.
after. No.
They have the comeback spirit.
Look out. You're just making it up right now. Coutard nearly getting caught out there. Has to pop that ultimate, tries to go stealth, tries to run away from Makata. Makata going to continue chasing. Gets the slowdown on towards him. The shields get thrown out, but he gets the jump. The flash comes out from Makata. Is this going to be to his detriment? No. Coutard gets away.
Wow. Considering he didn't even have to burn flash, I'll give that one a round of applause right there. That's more trouble for MYM because we knew going into the team compositions they had no stuns, which means stopping the incredibly long-range Kha'Zix sleep could become a problem. And even though they had 3 people down there, it just wasn't enough.
That's because they had the discipline. Discipline to not screw up in those fights. They held out in that fight. They didn't get antsy in that big siege and didn't go diving in for kills when they didn't need to. Coutard held on for that leap and used it at the right time, stuck around the side, and now it is Copenhagen Wolves that are pushing in with the Baron buff in towards the inhibitor turret of Meteor Makers.
Well, let's see if they can get this one, because they've repelled plenty of sieges, and pushing against Ziggs is no easy task. That's why they tried to lock on that ace in the hole to Ziggs, is to get him low enough that he'd have to fall back. I think the way Copenhagen Wolves tries to get this one done is through Kha'Zix trying a little bit of split push magic. That's actually how they got the comeback in the first place, is because Coutard killed Makade while Makade was trying to split push. It's just going to be more of the same from Copenhagen.
And we should also point out, of course, Youngbook, now he's actually starting to get damage, is going to become a problem in fights. I mean, that Q itself, I'm going to check out how many stacks he had, because that's going to be pretty huge, because he's pretty much been split farming himself. He's got
609.
Yeah, 609 bonus on towards it. That's like 800, 900 damage that Q is doing. That's going to hurt.
And they just got another 1,300 gold for their team by picking up the Dragon. While that doesn't directly assist Caitlyn or Kha'Zix, it actually does a little bit, because he just sold the Static Shiv for a Phantom Dancer, since there's actually more multipliers on Phantom Dancer, so he will be doing more damage now that he switched that one out. It's just going to help maybe Youngbuck hit his 6th item a little sooner, because he's at 5. These items are rather ridiculous, D-Man.
They're pretty ridiculous, and there's actually a lot of gold starting to stack up, like, for example, Charu, because he's at full bill. He's got 2k gold in him. He can't do anything with it. He's just stacking out potions, stacking out everything he can. You can see Forgiven there, glowing multiple colors, sat there stacking everything out. And Meteor Makers, actually, the way they're holding off here, they're either unsure of what to do, or they want to make a play. It seems like Libic coming in, they're charging in, their Shurelias was popped, but again, they were all slowed perfectly and had to back away. Ace in the hole will land on Libic. Not going to land the death sentence on towards Youngbuck, but honestly, I don't think it's Youngbuck they want.
And let's actually think about who gets to decide these fights and how. If Libic lands a Thresh death sentence, maybe they can start a fight, because that will disable someone briefly and allow the rest of the team to pile in. But if Copenhagen Wolves wants to decide a fight, it's either off a Cocoon or Unlimited can decide whenever he wants to go in with the anti-Tibbers. Even if they caught a Wither, it would allow them to slow them down long enough to land that hard CC. Running a team with death sentence as your only hard CC does have its drawbacks late in the game.
And it's Meet Your Makers that look fearful. They are not ready for these fights. They are the ones backing away in towards their base, in towards their towers. They are not going to find those picks. And you think, actually, you talked about it. Oh, Mackler getting caught out there. Young Kautar did jump there, but he's going to get caught in. The hook comes down. Will he be able to get away from it? No, he won't. The Collins going to come through. Kautar is surviving. No, that's going to be the Guardian Angels popped. That's 2 members possibly going down. He manages to get the jump away, but the damage is not enough from Meet Your Makers. And they hold off, but there's going to be one. They finally get the hook on towards Youngbuck. He goes down, and now Meet Your Makers, they want to drive this one forward. And Meet Your Makers have managed to turn it back around. Copenhagen Wolves, the minute the Baron wore off, they went for them.
Wow. And of course, the death sentence did land right after he jumped in a little bit over aggressively. And sure, if Libic is able to land those hooks, they'll get kills. They popped the GA of Kautar because of a death sentence, and they finished off Youngbuck because of another death sentence. But I don't think you can do that to 5 people and finish off Copenhagen Wolves. That was a little bit fortunate, I think, and great play by Libic to make those kills happen. I just don't see that as a sustainable plan to win this.
So the Guardian Angels of Kautar was down as well. We'll see whether he manages to make a play in this one, because at the moment, Meet Your Makers are just rushing straight up that mid lane. They know the inhibitor is exposed. We're seeing Youngbuck just off the side, sorry, Kautar just off at the side, coming in from the side now. Will he go aggressive on them? No, he won't. He's choosing to back away, and why not? Charo is there. They are going aggressive. Libic trying to get the ace in the hole. They're trying to kite this one through. Makata taking a lot of damage. Flash comes out from Unlimited. That is going to be the inhibitor down. And Meet Your Makers now trying to evacuate. The lantern gets taken, and they will back away from this one. There's a lot of disengage from Meet Your Makers.
And that's the cost of Youngbuck's death, which was actually Kautar's mistake in the first place, is it gives the inhibitor up. But based on how farmed everyone on Copenhagen Wolves is, it's not too hard for them to keep that wave push, since it is just the middle wave, which has extremely powerful super minions, but just not enough to completely hold it off. Copenhagen Wolves is going to try and push directly up that wave and get something back.
Teleport. Baron. Teleport being used. It's actually going a long way away, though, so he's going to come into this one. Meet Your Makers will start out. Kautar's going to be the focus target. Libic does get away. Kautar's gone down. They've managed to get Kha'Zix down, and Limited is low as well, just around the side there. And Kuban jumps straight on that one. Youngbuck being kited around. Makata's so low. Youngbuck will get dropped down here. It will be a kill towards him, and that's another one. Amazing now going down. Unlimited gets dropped in there. Forgiven so low. He tries to flash away, but gets caught out by the bullet of Mackler, and that is surely the triple kill and the ace for Meet Your Makers.
And with the inhibitor already down, this is going to be the game 1 victory for MYM, D-Man. What a game. 56 minutes and another ace for them. That's 50 kills we have in the game all told.
So the Nexus turrets will be dropping. Meet Your Makers going to close this one out, no problem at all. But what a game it has been. 57 minutes into the game, and Meet Your Makers finally get themselves a victory. It was a hard-fought one. There were many times in the lead, many chances. They had a 10k lead for so long in that game, and it was the hooks of Libic that started everything off once again.
What a way to start the promotion tournament right here, with an incredibly back-and-forth game for Meet Your Makers there. It was kind of theirs early on, then they wavered a little bit, and it actually turned into Copenhagen Wolves wavering a little bit too, because honestly, I look at that team composition from MYM, and it is difficult for them to find fights. So at the very end of the game, when they started the Baron, that is your fight creator, finally. Copenhagen Wolves took it. They didn't have the right engagement. One of their 2 priority damage dealers fell, and it allowed MYM to take home the game 1 win.
Something I'm seeing different from Meet Your Makers this season. That's a coach talking to them right now. They've never heard that before. It's always been on the captain, been on Makata. Now he's got somebody to bounce off. You can see immediately they're having that conversation, immediately trying to sort it out. So that is a great tool, and maybe that's just that edge they needed.
Well, they had a very strong early and mid game in that one, and they barely held it together with the finish. I mean, 1,000+ games together. An experienced team can do those sort of things from time to time. Not the most solid Game 1 victory, I'd have to say, but with that 6th man, with the post-game reaction that they have there and being able to prepare for the next one, there's no reason they can't take the rest of the series.
But what a long game. And they did get the win. That's the big thing. But as you mentioned, it took them a long time to get it. And maybe that's got to play in their mind. They had such a big advantage, and it took them so long to close that game.
56 minutes and 59 seconds when all was said and done in that matchup. Once they kind of lost their lead, I did not expect them to be able to get it back.
Fantastic, fantastic game. Okay, guys, coming up after the break, it is going to be Game 2 between the Copenhagen Wolves and Meet Your Makers, and what a game the first one was. But first, of course, while the Wolves came into this tournament with a relatively new roster, Meet Your Makers have something unique among their challenging teams, a squad that's played together for years.
Team solidarity can be important. If you're not confident in your team, if you don't trust your teammates and stuff like that, you're not going to be performing on top.
The beginning is pretty hard, but after playing a few months together and practicing, you understand each other and you get on the same page.
If you have the right pieces, you will fit together. If you don't have them, synergy won't exist ever.
We've been together for such a long time. It's over 1,000 days.
Me, Makler and Mukat created this team.
Keeping the roster for so long gives us an advantage.
Being together for a long time can have an advantage, but I don't think it will have an advantage over us because we've also experienced a lot of tournaments together.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not playing only with my brother in the team, but for now it's like we're one big family and we know each other pretty well.
And we said as long as we want to play, we'll play together.
It's probably pretty important, but sometimes bringing a new talent to the team can do something good. Maybe they should consider it.